Right, we are back for our coffee chat, although I'm on the water today, Bryce. People think it's water, it's actually gin. Um, that's how I feel today. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm a little tired too. We were talking about it's just there's a lot going on in the world and so exciting, but also kind of, oh shit.
Yeah,
Like,
be careful what we wish for. We all want it to happen and it's popping off. And today we're going to be having a really good conversation about the inconvenient truths I've called it. From now, I think a lot of our audience will have watched the RFK Senate confirmation. I don't know if I've said that right, what it was, but it was one thing I'll start it off with, and I've got a couple of videos to share, which we'll share in a sec. But Bryce, one thing I think your country and my country have in common is the absolutely appalling way these so-called leaders, political figures conduct themselves in public. And I'm not talking about RFK Jr., who was so composed
yeah.
at the abuse that he got hurled at him. I was so disgusted to see such a wasted opportunity because, he's been brought in to make America healthy again. And people were making it really personal. There were so few questions in that 3.5 hours that actually address the real issue about the chronic state of the health in the USA, and in particular the disastrous state of the health of the poor children. I mean, can you believe the way these people behave?
It's appalling. Like when I was a child, politicians were respectful and it was about
Yeah.
the issues. But I think what's happened, especially in the United States, and maybe this is true across the board in Western countries. When I was a child, whether you were a Democrat or a Republican or an independent, it didn't really matter because at the end of the day, you were an American. And
Mm.
at the end of the day, it was about working together. We would argue and respectfully debate, respectfully argue cases, but everybody had the best interest of the country at hand, even if they had different perspectives of how to get there. And because we knew that each side wanted what was best for the country, there was respect there. And I think what was obvious, Catherine, at the dirtiness is how many politicians, and this is what cracks me up about, we'll say, the establishment, is sometimes they expose themselves, and I don't think they realize we're not stupid.
Yes.
Obviously, we're not stupid, but the common person, obviously, you're being paid by these companies, will say, because your argument is, what RFK is doing is we were talking about this where he's opening up choice for people and a lot of making people, letting people have choice. And so it's obvious that these people are being paid off by these nefarious companies and they're trying to stop that train because this is their payday, which in my opinion, and I don't know if this would fit in with treason, but in my opinion, that is treason because you're compromising the well-being of your people over independent self-service. I think that's another reason. I think this is probably true across the board. When the United States was founded, so they say, with the history they give us, the politicians did not make really extra money. It was more of a public service to their country.
Exactly, which is why you generally got business people.
Mhm.
Typically, back then it was businessmen, obviously not now, but you got business people who'd really lived, done a career, learnt the lessons through life, and then
Yeah,
more when they were nearer their retirement age, went in to serve their country, having had all that experience they're bringing with them. But now we've got the career politicians that are literally looking to line their own pockets. And look, we've all got conflict of interest. When I do a video with one of my sponsors, I make it very clear that it's a company I'm working with.
yeah.
I'm lucky enough to be in a position where I can choose to work with companies that I only passionately believe with. But any
Right.
person here that's got an employed job, you are, by the fact that you're employed with them, endorsing that company, whether you actively do it and whether you like your job or not. So with these politicians, they should have to go out and declare. And I mean, there's so many good clips that everyone's going to be showing for what's been done. But should we start, Bryce, with for me, which is the most controversial issue about Operation Warp Speed, and see what
Yeah.
you say from there?
Let's start
So
with
let
that.
me just share my screen. Oh, why does it always do this when I click off the video? Let me go on that. Sorry, just cancel this. Sorry, folks. Let me stop sharing. Can you see that?
I see a black. Oh, there we go. Now I see it. Yes.
Right. Let me see if you tell me. Do thumbs up if you can hear this.
What I want to do is, I'm not a scientist. I want to empower scientists. I want to make sure that science is unobstructed by vested or economic interest.
That's good. I got
that culture, and I'll just say about Operation Warp Speed, it was an extraordinary accomplishment, showed demonstration of leadership by President Trump. When he promoted Operation Warp Speed, he was looking at all of the different remedies, including vaccines,
therapeutics, everything.
Therapeutic, ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, famotidine, even chlorine dioxide. And he was not looking at shutting down our country for the year, forcing people to wear masks for a year, forcing all social distancing that did not have any scientific basis, which Dr. Fauci has now acknowledged. He said we took it out of thin air. But all of those changed during the Biden administration. And it became very narrowly focused. We ended up with the highest death count of any country in the world.
Mr. Chair, if I can just ask one final question, and I think it's
Senator.
So much I want to discuss on that, and I want to get that out there because everyone's going to be talking about it. Before I jump in with some of the notes that I made on that, what was your opinion of that, Bryce?
First of all, I have to say, this is why I'm not a politician, because I would start crying in the middle of that. I just would not be able to handle that. And this is why I'm not married to a politician, because that was his wife sitting. I don't know if you guys noticed that. That was his wife sitting right behind him. And the fact that they were able to she was able to keep her composure, that hats off to them. There's a lot I can say about this. And I think something too that we have to always remember with politics is that there is a game being played here with politics. I think when we talked about traders last week, the mind games and stuff. And I think that there's so many nuances within these conversations. And, you and I, Catherine, both have a very similar, if not identical view on, I don't know if we can say the word yet, but these things. I will not get any of them anymore. I don't care what. I'm not doing that. That's not going to happen. I haven't had one since I was in high school anyway. My animals will not get that. Ravi only got what he had to have in order to get into this country, in order for us to bring him home, but no more. And that's my opinion, and that's my choice. And I think with what he was saying about the original operation, from what I picked up, is that President Trump was trying to look at all remedies and make them available, and that's the thing. Like, I think in the side of truth that we're on, it's funny, in an interview that Paula just did with Todd, he talked about some of the issues he had. And I'm kind of quoting here, kind of comparing it when he brought traditional yoga into this crazy vinyasa flow world and how hard it was. And she asked him a question, well, did you ever feel like you needed to back down? He goes, no, because I knew I was right. And that's kind of how I think we feel about these things. It's like, once you research them, there's an obvious choice, and that's not to get one, right? That's an obvious choice. However, I think in the side of the truther world, we have to be extremely careful not to play the same hand that the cabal played, right? So we have to maintain people's freedom of choice in this. And I was telling you, with what he's hopefully doing, it's going to open people's eyes up to what's actually happening with these companies, which I hopefully will course correct and more people will choose not to do this. But I love that he brought up the ivermectin, the everything that's also, that the media tried to hush up. But yet let's focus on these things by Fauci. And I love the whole, like, Fauci's now admitting that they pulled this shit out of thin air. Yeah. I want to put that on repeat in my life, just go around and show people that to get hope. We'll never get apologies. But, what's frustrating, Catherine, and this might be, was an article that was released a few weeks ago here in the United States, and I cannot remember which outlet released it. Forgive me, guys. I didn't, but Todd had said it to me, and I don't even know if I still have it. The headline was, we need to hold the people who didn't get this responsible for our health issues because of this, because they didn't warn us. Which is gaslighting, because we actually got shadow banned, got lost money, got just trying to say, hey, you might want to actually look at what's. So we're seeing how the media is still trying to, like, where he actually said this whole operation was about everything, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, completely. And what I was so pleased about, I mean, I had, it was one of the instrumental reasons why my first channel, one of them was taken down, because I interviewed Dr. Andreas Kalko a lot on, which you can find on my Rumble channel, on chlorine dioxide. And the authorities in the UK actually took my whole website down twice without me knowing, because I was directing people where they could buy the water purification kits, which is what it is, to make their own. And it cost me a huge amount of money. I had no support. It was a horrendous process to go through, incredibly stressful when you're trying to give people options. And we all know that Trump was completely ridiculed for talking about that. Everyone said he was talking about bleach and horse wormers. But the whole point is about here, and I know I'm sort of preempting some of the comments. So I have seen the videos that have gone round that have got RFK Jr. saying in an interview about, I would never force a vaccine on someone unless, and that unless thing. So I have seen that, and of course that needs digging into. And one of the things I was so disappointed in the Senate hearing yesterday was no one asked him about the messenger RNA vaccines. No one asked him about that. But I am personally an anti-vaxxer, but I don't believe in taking choice away from other people. So as a mother, you are making, and fathers out there, you're making decisions about your child long before they're even born. Your lifestyle, your stress levels, what you eat, whether you smoke, whether you drink when you're pregnant, let alone afterwards, you're deciding their diet. And we can't say we want informed choice and take it away from others. So it's a bit like when smoking first came out, doctors were advising people to smoke, and a lot of people who started smoking noticed what could go down as health benefits. They lost weight, because often when you smoke you don't binge eat or don't snack as much. They were less stressed, because they use that to manage their stress rather than perhaps things like alcohol or other drugs. And it's only over time that the health benefits, the health dangers become apparent. And this is why I laugh about, and I just don't care what anyone says about people that think it's healthy to be on a carnivore diet. Look, just because you're feeling better now, it's like the smoking analogy. When you start smoking, you lose weight and you might be less stressed, but it doesn't mean it's not killing you. Same with the carnivore diet. And I'm just using those as an analogy because for me, and I could be completely wrong, but for me, I agree with what you said there, that I think in his position, he wants informed choice. So, you know, just like as adults, we can go out and buy alcohol and we can buy junk food and we can eat Pringles and God knows what else, which we know is detrimental to our health. Yes, the childhood vaccine schedule should be a choice for parents, not enforced, you know. So I think, like you hit the nail on the head for me, Bryce, when you just said we can't behave to take other people's choice away. We can talk about the dangers. It should be compulsory that you have a pre-meeting. So before any child has a jibby jab, the parent should have to have a training course on, these are what we think the current pros are, these are what we think the current downsides are. You should be given some time to do that so that you can then make an informed choice, not go into the doctor's surgery and have to say, like they did to RFK, I just want a yes or no answer. It's very rarely a yes or no answer.
It's so nuanced. There was a great podcast that Jillian Michaels did with a guy who worked for a pharmaceutical company, and he talked about the partnership between the insurance companies and big pharma.
Yeah.
And basically the way it affects the Americans is that what was happening with a lot of these medications that these companies would bring to doctors' offices, you know, we know this in holistic healing, we know this in yoga, we know that, you know, even though Catherine and I are two women close in age, we have the same template of a body, but we have, if we, our doctors would see two totally different cases, depending on all sorts of things, on genetics, on whatever, your diet, whatever. And so what was happening is when these companies would bring new medications to the doctor's job then is to go test the patient to make sure that they are going to respond positively to these drugs, right? But the insurance companies then would partner with these, this is especially for the United States because we don't have free health care. We have to have insurance. So if an insurance company comes to a doctor and tells the doctor, basically, I'll have to send you this podcast. Basically, if you don't stop running tests on your patients, we're not going to cover you in our network. So basically, these doctors can't run these tests on patients to see if they can handle the drug because they would lose their business. Because if they don't have insurance coverage, they don't have a business.
Wow.
Right? And so it's a criminal enterprise between these two companies. And so for the Americans especially, that is why just across the board, people and kids are given the same treatment when in reality, if the doctor was allowed to do his or her job, every treatment for a person would be different depending on their body. I mean, I remember my grandfather, who was a surgeon, with smoking specifically, he would say it was the wildest thing. He could open up somebody's chest who smoked 3 packs a day and their lungs would be fine.
Yeah.
But then he'd open up somebody's chest who never touched cigarettes and they would have terrible lungs. There are just there's just always going to be a wild card. There's always going to be a wild card. And so I think what's happened is that because the doctors cannot run tests, and on top of that, as we learned with this last fancy flu in 2020, they're being incentivized monetarily to push certain drugs on people. If we take that away from the doctors, if the doctors aren't incentivized anymore, if all treatments financially are of equal value to the doctor, and the doctor did not have to deal with the criminal enterprise of the insurance companies, then I think we're going to get more back to a more logical approach to healthcare. I mean, the amount, and I think what's happened with JFK is, yes, imagine that, Catherine. So think about that for those of us that went through 2021, 2022 and said no, we were never coerced into taking the jab. We all said no. And how much that pissed us off, that our whole livelihoods were being threatened. Catherine, you and I paid heavily with our channels for speaking out. The anger. Now imagine turning around and doing that to somebody else, because there are people out there in both of our respective countries all over the world, really good people who want to do what's right, and they have total trust in these companies. And then you come and take it away from them aggressively and say you can't do, it's going to cause trauma for them too. So we have to be in a place where we can give all human beings, and that's the side of light, where you don't take away. I mean, that's the Cassiopeans. They always back off sometimes because they don't want to interfere with our free will. Right? That's the light.
Everything can be dangerous. And,
yes.
And what you were just saying there, I just want to give a couple of examples. So in dogs, there's something called an MDR1 gene mutation, which is a multi-drug resistance 1, which is a genetic mutation in dogs that cause sensitivity to certain medications, and ivermectin is one of them. So if you give a dog that's got the MDR1 gene mutation ivermectin, you'll kill it. So for me, I've got 2 rescue dogs, which are mixed breeds, and goodness knows what they've got in them. So I actually did a saliva test to see if my dogs had this one, just to make sure. And certain dogs, like collies, up to 70% of them are affected. Now, this is the problem, is like at the moment, everyone is going around in the alternative. And I always use words like everyone, which of course is incorrect. Sorry, everyone, not everyone, but a large majority of people are going around saying, ivermectin's a cure for everything. I've got serious doubts about ivermectin because, one, if you give that to a collie or certain other dogs with the gene mutation, it will kill them. And humans have different gene mutations as well that make them more or less sensitive, more or less responsive. So we all know that you could be on a drug or a supplement that could work amazingly for you, and someone else it won't work for at all or will do them a lot of damage. And also, we also in our audience understand the psychological effect and how important that is. So it's very well known and very well studied that if you tell someone they will be dead by this date, which is called the nocebo, the chances are they will be dead by that date. Because belief is everything. And surgeons have proven that it's the belief of the patient, much more than the state of health of the patient before they go into the operating theatre, that determines more likely their outcome. So everything is a risk. Getting in your car is a risk. Getting in the plane, that's one for a different show. Risk at the moment. Drinking your water out of your tap, and the air that you're, everything's a risk. So handling this with nuances, and just because someone says something, we're adamant. We might have done our research and decided that for us, this is a non-negotiable at the moment. Some new evidence might come out. Because even though I am into terrain theory, not gene theory, that is based on not gain of function research. Now, the fact that people are, Bill Gates and others are releasing mosquitoes into the world that are genetically modified and changing nature's natural balance, that means that we need to look for different solutions. So I let me play one more clip, Bryce, because I really want to see what you guys think of this. Because I was horrified by this one. Let me just find it and share it. Can you see that on X?
Yes.
It goes to Medicaid. And there's a push to recommend Ozempic for Americans as young as 6 over a condition, obesity, that is completely preventable and barely even existed 100 years ago. Since 74% of Americans are obese, the cost of all of them, if they take their Ozempic prescriptions, will be $3 trillion a year. This is a drug that has made Novo Nordisk the biggest company in Europe. It's a Danish company, but the Danish government does not recommend it. It recommends a change in diet to treat obesity and exercise. Virtually Novo Nordisk's entire value is based upon its projections of what Ozempic is going to sell to Americans. For half the price of Ozempic, we could purchase regeneratively raised organic agriculture or organic food for every American, 3 meals a day, and gym membership for every obese American. Why are members of Congress doing the bidding of this Danish company instead of standing up for American farmers and children? Because Novo Nordisk is one of the largest funders of medical research, the media and politicians and the medical schools all go along with them.
So the reason I showed that one, Bryce, it's pretty self-explanatory, but this is why he's saying the inconvenient truth. The sad reality is that someone like RFK Jr. can't do it for us.
Right.
We have to, somehow, we've all been, again, not all of us, but a large percentage of the population have been so brainwashed and programmed into a quick pill effect. People every single day, this is my day job, is as a holistic therapist, helping people and animals to get healthy mentally, physically, emotionally, using natural methods. And however much people want to do it naturally, most people will not stick to the natural way because they find it easier to take a pill.
Which is cheating. I mean, from a spiritual perspective, I know we've been wanting to talk about Ozempic, and I want to make this very clear because, again, it's nuanced. If you have diabetes, and this is something that I'm not even talking about you, I'm talking about these lazy ass fat people. I'm sorry, I'm just going to say it, who can't get off their ass and actually serve their body. And it takes effort. Like, you have to, and that's what gets me so upset, Catherine, because you and we work, you're up at the crack of dawn, working your land with your animals. I am constantly exercising. I am constantly, yes, that's my job, but it's also an investment in myself. It's not easy to do, but we do it consistently because that's what's good for us. And for these lazy ass people to feel so entitled that they would shoot themselves up with a drug, which, I'm sorry, according to the Cassiopeans, if you're using Ozempic for weight loss, you have fallen for an AI hoax because they are changing your DNA by doing that. I'm sorry, that's not Catherine's opinion. That's just, we'll say, allegedly.
And the cancer figures. I mean, we've got it over here, Bryce, nowhere near as much as you have in America. Sorry to interrupt, but just what you just said, these poor sods over here that have been put on it by their doctors, they are or they might have coerced their doctors into doing that. I don't know. Every case will be different. And as I said, we are not talking about the people with diabetes.
Yeah, no, that you guys are not.
Type 1 diabetes. I'm not about. That's a completely different scenario, and you've got different challenges and different choices you need to make. Type 2 diabetes is 100% lifestyle. Now, it's not about blaming the individual. We don't know what we don't know. But once you have got to that state, to have any system that is plugging that when they know it massively increases the risk of thyroid cancer, it damages your gut so badly that you can't even control your motions, that a lot of people, it permanently damages their gut and they'll have to be on it for life, even knowing how much have it. It's horrendous. And there's a reason why Denmark, where the places the drug company is, don't let their people or don't recommend their people take it. And
we're giving it to kids now. Like,
it's
Catherine,
tragic.
I'll be 42 next week, you guys. So I'm not that old. I mean, I'm middle aged, but it wasn't that long ago that I was a kid myself in the late 80s, early 90s. There might have been like one token fat kid like in the school, but this was not an issue. It was an issue to try to make sure we actually ate our meals because we were so disinterested in food as a kid, and we played outside, and and that's exercise, right?
Yeah.
And I was thinking about this too. Like I don't know how to. My boyfriend's the cook. I'm not a cook, but my mother never really cooked. We went out to eat a lot, and I get why. My father was always on call, so it was just something for her to get out of the house. I understand that. But when it came to the restaurants we went to were like family owned, where I'm sure that they were more organic cooking. We didn't realize it back then. It was just cooking back then. And with junk food, there was junk food, but it was junk food. And so therefore, we only got it on special occasions. Like we weren't going around eating candy every day as a kid. It was on a special occasion that we would get like a bag of Skittles. And
this
now
is what RFK is saying, isn't it? This is exactly what he's saying. Sort out the food supply, because at the moment so many people are obese because you haven't got real food. Most of our countries have got chemically, genetically modified food. And one of the things he really brought out in this Senate hearing, that he was just so not allowed to answer the questions. I mean, what's the point of asking questions and then saying, I want a yes or no answer for it? It's not. You can't give a yes or no answer. But he brought out really clearly the link between the environmental damage. I am going to come on to global warming. That was a different thing. But this is not this is the chemicals that you're putting on your land that are poisoning the land, that are poisoning the water, are equally, of course, poisoning us and all other life on work. And you do not have to be a bloody chemist to understand that. That's pretty common sense. If you're putting things on that's killing all life forms, it's like if you're putting a flea or tick thing spot on your dog, and it's got warnings saying do not touch, wash your hands afterwards. So in one respect, it's saying you'll put this stuff on your pet and it will last for a month and kill all internal and external parasites. But then it's saying to you, it's dangerous if you touch it. I mean, you don't need to be a biologist or a vet to realize that's an oxymoron. And what he's saying is, look, we want to get these poor people that have been literally raised off not real food with no nutrition and pumped full of chemicals that's messed up all their metabolism. We need to help them get back.
And it's like, it isn't even that a long time ago that this was just normal. Like I remember even as a kid, now granted where I lived in the world, this is more accessible because it's warmer most of the year. But my mother, she would go to the grocery store for groceries, but she would go every week to the farmer's market.
Yeah.
And when I say farmer's market, I mean like she would go to people's farms and buy fruits and vegetables directly from the farmer off the side of the road. I remember going with her, and she knew how to smell the different and feel them so we had legitimate like straight from but that was just normal back then. That was normal. And I think what's happened too, Catherine, is it's like this whole collective consciousness, because I think our generation, we didn't know it was called discipline, but it was discipline. We just knew that like when I came home from school, my snack was usually an apple and peanut butter. And of course, then the peanut butter was like real peanut butter. It was like literal. It wasn't what it is now. Or like celery and peanut butter. Yeah. Or, we always had, it wasn't a bag of chips. It wasn't. No. And I think now we're so entitled to get what we want that we've lost that taking, like kids just get, I mean, not just kids, but even adults, like just get what they want. I want a Snickers bar, so I'm just going to eat this every day, instead of actually being responsible. And I think that shift, I don't know when it happened, because it wasn't that long ago that shift didn't exist, that there was, we would have our junk food from time to time, but it was, I remember a lot of times on Friday nights, and now I know why, because my mother was probably exhausted by the time Friday night came along, and we had the weekend, we had done our after school activities, school, and a lot of times we'd have a friend spending the night. And so we would order, that was the night that we got to order Domino's pizza delivery, which is a big deal back in the 80s and the 90s, right? We didn't have Grubhub. We didn't have, to order Domino's. That was so unhealthy, but it was one night a week.
Exactly. And we're designed to cope with that. I mean, I'm so lucky. It's like the lifestyle. So The thing is, when we grew up, it was very hard for both parents to work because we
Yeah.
didn't have supermarkets. We had no such thing as delivery, and everything. I mean, even where I live now, we still can't get any food deliveries, which I am so grateful of because I live in the middle of the countryside. I'm not near a town. We can't get any deliveries, and it's the best thing ever because, trust me, there's many a night. I completely get it. You're exhausted after work. You really think, oh, I just can't be bothered to cook. Let me order something in. And I'm sure I would do that quite a bit if I could, and I can't. So I'm very grateful for that. But I think when we're going back to the Senate thing for RFK, I think what disappointed me the most, and I watched the whole thing, I listened to it, I didn't watch it all, was the agendas of people. Like, he said in one of his speeches, and trust me, Bryce and I are not saying that we agree with everything President Trump does, everything RFK, but the thing is, of course, there's no one in this world that I agree with everything apart from
Right.
but what he said very clearly is that we've got to get back to common sense living. We've got to give people good choices. We've got to give informed consent. We've got to look at the whole lifestyle of things, and we've got to understand that farming for all our countries, but obviously he's talking about America, is absolutely key of everything. Because if you ruin the soil, if you ruin the land, if you poison that, you poison everything and everyone that goes on it. So you can't take these things in isolation. And getting back to the fact where, any animal in nature, apart from humans, food and water and shelter, they're the key survivor. And that's what they spend all their time doing. And yet we now have pushed it so far down our list as humanity of priorities in the Western world. There's many people where that is a daily challenge just to find food and water and shelter, but we're all lucky if we're sitting here watching it on YouTube. And what I was so disappointed in is RFK said in one of the questions that the health of our children is not a Democrat or Republican thing. The health of the children is the health of the children, and there should have been no one in that room that wasn't able to put personalities aside, whether you like someone or not. Are they the best person that we've got available for the job? And are they going to help our children and our country get healthy again? And I saw so few examples of that. I saw people putting their own agendas, and I think all of us can take a really good lesson from that and think, wow, how much do we base things on whether we like the person and the personality rather than are they the best option at the moment for the job?
And it is that common sense as you're saying that, I'm thinking about all the spending cuts that Trump has done since becoming and just making the American public aware of where our tax dollar was going and the millions of dollars that was going to supply condoms to Gaza. And then
believe that.
I mean, the millions that was going to research goggles for ducks. And even though I'm very, I know, right? Even though I'm very suspicious,
is that really true?
That's real. That's real. I'll send it to you. So I will. Elon Musk. I'm very kind of still take Elon Musk at arm's length, but he did say something. He goes, I'm paraphrasing. He was like, I think the ducks conduct themselves. Like, I don't think we need to invest in them having. So the ridiculous money that's being wasted. That's taxpayer money. What would happen if we took all that money and instead of worrying about sending condoms to a country that's not our responsibility or trying to fix nature? Sorry, scientists, ducks have survived without goggles. I think they're good. And took that money and actually focused on public school nutrition and focused on so even if we have lower income school districts, if we can make sure that those kids are getting legitimate food
and learning to grow their own food, which my children did at their primary school. They got taught to grow their own food, which was phenomenal. And like he said in that clip we played, gym membership for everyone, or a park, or a safe park that children could go to, or some sort of safe area that people, adults and humans, because it is really important, I keep looking out, I keep catching something outside my eyes. If you keep seeing me looking over there, I think there's a ghost out there somewhere. The thing is, children do what their parents do, not what they say. It's absolutely
100%.
This subliminal programming. So if you did a campaign to get the parents fit and healthy again, Most young children are not choosing their food, their parents are. Most parents want the best for their children. Not all, but most do. And therefore, if you help the children, what about if we went back to, as he said, he went through some of the figures there, and I'm rubbish at remembering these huge numbers, but what they were spending on Ozempic and planning to spend on that, if they let people, parents, go down to a 4-day week so they had time to cook properly.
Yeah.
They had time to go out in nature. They had time to do the proper things that you need to do to raise a family properly.
And with the exercise with children too, I actually just had this conversation yesterday because I get so many emails about that with the Esoteric Academy about what if my kids want to join. And my response is always, up to a certain age, it needs to be fun for them.
Yeah.
Let them have fun. Like they don't need to be following. If you're doing a workout video and they like the music, do not get after them about following the moves exactly. If they're an 8-year-old, let them dance and let them see you having fun doing this. Because that's another thing too. I grew up with a mother who exercised all the time. She was always, and she was always running. She was a big tennis player. And I've talked about this before. Now there are benefits and negatives to that. It's nuanced because my mother did have some disordered eating and she definitely used exercise. Besides tennis, she really enjoyed playing tennis with her friends. But they would drink and, that was just a whole other thing. But the running and stuff was really about, for most of her, was about losing weight.
Yeah.
And so on the positive side, growing up, seeing my mother exercise every day did make an impression on me that is something that you need to do every day. But it took me rewiring my brain to see it as something that was enjoyable for vitality versus a punishment.
Yeah.
And that's how kids play. At least when I was a kid, and I'm sure your kids were the same ways, like we would go out for recess.
Yeah.
And we would play, and you see kids come back in, they're sweaty, their hair's everywhere. They're having fun, but they're burning energy at the same time. But
we all scuffed our knees and we didn't care.
Yes!
Fell over and it was just, I so agree. And I don't understand enough about your system, Bryce, about what happens next, because they have to vote on him, don't they? And my takeaway from everything I've seen, and I'm not American, I'm not living there, but does he seem like the best person for the job?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Is any human perfect, and should they be? Absolutely not. Can anyone change their mind to new information? But that's the first time I've seen people mention, I can't say them too many times because I had my channel taken down for it, but chlorine dioxide, ivermectin, which you are allowed to say. And I think open the discussions up and give people choice again, give them informed consent, because all of those things aren't safe.
No,
not all safe for everything and for all people and all things, and they can be overused, and there'll always be different belief systems and different patterns. But what happens next? Because we've got this thing about America Healthy Again, and I think as a British person, I'm so hope this happens, because we know it's going to have a massive roll on and more pressure elsewhere. He made a point, and I've heard this said by Trump as well. No one in Europe wants to buy any food from America. Now, there's some supplements we buy from there, and there's a few regenerative farmers that do very well out of it, but most people don't want American food because it's so toxic now.
Yeah.
So there's no downside apart from to the corporate entities to putting some of these things in place and changing it, because all of us have got to look at our countries, ourselves, our lives. I've still got health. I work in this field. I've still got health issues that I need to, particularly we're going to talk about stress moving forward. That's a daily work in progress for me, but it's not working out what we've done up until now. We know there's loads of corruptions. We know all the politicians in my country, in your country, are bought and funded. There's so many funny clips of that demented woman going on and asking, and then it turns out that she's taken loads of money from the pharmaceutical companies.
And that shouldn't happen. Like that, we should prevent that. That it really needs to everything just needs to be stripped down and
like your t-shirt. Stand up and show us your t-shirt.
This is t-shirt. This is funny. I actually was going to say this. So this is I'm glad you brought this up, because I was the irony. So this is a gas station, you guys, a very famous gas station in America that's like a mall, right? Oh. And there's one, they're from Texas, and they've just branched out. So we always stop. There's one on the way, and it's when you come, I'm going to bring you to one because it is a trip. Like you walk into this, the gas, you guys call it the petrol station, we call it
Yeah.
gas station, and it's literally a mall. And they have really nice things, like a whole clothing store. They've got like that. It's all very nice stuff, a home decor section. And it was interesting because we stopped there. Now, this was kind of a cheaper shirt I got to run in because I like tank tops, but I need to run it the way anyway. But so I got it because I was like, oh, that'll be a good running shirt. But we were in the car, so we always allow ourselves, like I said, because both my boyfriend and I are well, he's of the 70s, 80s, and 90s. I grew up in the 80s and 90s. So we got on road trips, we'll get like some potato chips from the gas station. We'll allow ourselves that. Well, I went into Buc-ee's and I got a list from someone from Texas who said things to get that are really good. So I went and got that. It's a little bit higher priced. When I go back into the car and I'm sitting there and I got some corn chips and I opened, I was like, these are really good. Like I made my boyfriend taste them. I was like, these are so good. I turned over the back to look. You know why they were so good? There was like 3 ingredients in them.
Yeah.
So imagine that, how ironic that a gas station is actually making their brand of food that's literally food. It's not got.
Yeah.
And so how ironic is that? But, with these politicians, I mean, the Cassiopeians just released a new reading. I was going to send it to you. And usually I'll read them on my show, but I didn't do that one because some of the channelers were kind of in a bad mood and I didn't want people to be put off by that. But basically, one of the questions was, are we walking into a golden age? And the Cassiopeians said, no, not yet. And a lot of people are very depressed about that. But then the more you think about it, because the Cassiopeians sometimes won't give too much information because they don't want to shift your free will.
Yeah.
And the more we thought about it, my boyfriend and I, we talked about it. We're like, of course, we're not walking into a golden age yet. We still have to dismantle this damn system. We still have to. And these establishment people. I mean, even at the inauguration, somebody did. Was it you that told me or Todd? Somebody watched Obama's lip reading and said Obama was like, "How do we stop this from happening?" Was what he said. They watched his lip reading. So we still have these, and I'm sorry, if you are one of those people that think all the bad guys have capitulated, you have been sold a load of crap from the cabal.
And that is people that think that it's all slam dunk with the current administration and that
we're still in a fight. We're still in a fight, you guys. It's a more balanced playing field. But when you were on the dark side, if that's why I keep promoting to read the Law of One. It is not within your moral compass to capitulate. Surrender is not a part. You're not going to surrender. That's not going to happen. The only time you're going to surrender is if it behooves you to surrender, right? You're going to turn on your own. And so what we're seeing now is a fight. We are seeing the last remnants of this corrupt organization trying with all their might to hold on to power. They're not going to give it up. And I think that's part of what we saw with RFK, because here RFK is, if we talk about Democrats and Republicans, what he's saying, here is a man that was open enough to work for a Republican team as a Democrat because he was the best man for the job. So if he can do that, that should give us hope that we're looking at someone who's willing to listen to everything and willing to listen to everything and study everything and allow that choice out there. And so what we're looking at with all of this debate, we're going to be seeing the definite dismantling of the establishment, but they are not going down without a fight. And honestly, Catherine, at this point, I think what's happened, and I don't mean to scare people, but if they push back against RFK too much, I still think there's a chance to have a civil war, because parents from my newsfeed and FYI, guys, if you see me on Facebook, they just reinstated my Facebook page. I didn't do it. I deactivated it like 3 years ago. And all of a sudden it's back up again.
Well, I wish I'd get mine back, because someone hacked mine and took the whole lot down, and all my really good old contacts that we've been in contact for years, and I can't get back into mine.
Well, if you send me a friend request, I'm not doing anything on it yet because I don't know why the hell they just reactivated it, so I'm just kind of leaving it. So don't think I'm ignoring you if I don't respond to it. And I'm literally like a little concerned because I deactivated it 3 years ago and they just brought it back.
Well, I'm going to wonder whether they're going to get our YouTube channels back again or not.
I mean, I would love it if they did that, but I'm still a little kind of cautious. But
I agree.
When I was scrolling yesterday, because I have been on Facebook for forever, and of course Instagram I was looking through, I'm seeing these parents, my peers that aren't truthers, they're not on YouTube, people I went to high school with, who are pissed. because of the way RFK was being treated. And so you're messing with people's children now. And so on a very, it's one thing to know that they're messing with our children from like the SRA perspective, but that's far from us, right? That's very removed. But when it comes to like public school systems and health, and that's right in your backyard. And so parents are getting pissed. And so I understand what the Cassiopeans are saying. Like, we're not going to be in a golden age for a while because there's going to be turbulence. Now, that doesn't mean that turbulence is bad. I'm quite enjoying it because it's nice to, Catherine, before we met each other, you and I were hemming and hollering about some of these issues health-wise. And now to see it being actually spoken about on a huge government platform is pretty impressive to me. And so we have to we can't rest in our laurels. That's what the establishment wants us to do. They want us to rest in our laurels, to think everything's taken care of, but it's not. We have to be vigilant and continue to support this. And, and so I think that's what we're looking at. And I'll go back to what I said earlier. I could never do RFK Jr.'s job because I would start crying.
I couldn't, and I certainly couldn't do his wife because I'd have been back out there and my language, I'd have been sent off for abusive language. And I think this is the thing, is like, to be able to maintain that composure, you've got to have done your work. We know he's a recovering addict. You have to have done your work, and you have, because I couldn't keep composed in that. But I was so disappointed in the fact that, one, they didn't let him speak. And with everything that's going on at the moment in your country and in my country, I am doing my best, which isn't perfect, and I've still got a long way to go, to be objective and to listen with a really open, non-judgmental, what's really being said here, what are the actions being backed up, are they? Because, I've been quite critical of, I don't trust Elon Musk, I don't trust Trump, but do I think they're much better than the alternative? Well, not Elon, but that's a long conversation. But I think, in terms of, I'm really trying to put a lot of these belief systems behind me and say, let me listen objectively to this. And can I take the personalities out of it? Can I actually try and say, look, we don't want to be fighting, even amongst our own communities, who's right and who's wrong. We want to make a better world for all of us. Everyone's stressed. Most people are ill. Look at the statistics in all our countries. Most people are really worried about money. This isn't thriving. This isn't how we want to be living our lives. And I think we've got a lot of change happening, and I think if we can keep our eyes and hearts open and not be fooled too much, because we're always going to be a bit, then we've got a really good chance of changing things.
Absolutely. And I think that's like last week we talked on my channel about the JD Vance conspiracy and all the conspiracy theories. And I just want to make that very clear. I liked the side of light, which is what we all want to be on, is not what I'm seeing from the truther community. From the truther community as a whole, I'm seeing the darkness. This is a service to self. This is a psyop from the dark side. And we see that a lot of people believe that JD Vance has a mask on and he's really JFK Jr., but yet that's hypocritical, because if that were the case, then we're in trouble, because that's a coup and that's treason. Because the American people, I went and I voted for Donald Trump and JD Vance. Kennedy, JFK was not on the ballot. And so that's a coup. If that, and you can't, with the Democrats, when they replaced Biden with Kamala, we all laughed at them because their own party cooed her in because they did. But yet, in the same token, we think it's good for us to do that. We can't be hypocrites. We cannot be hypocrites. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. If we're holding the Democrats, if we're holding the normies to a certain standard, then we have to hold ourselves to that same standard. And so I think that's the danger. And I think it's great we're talking about that, to be like, are there things that Trump has done that I don't like? Absolutely. But I do have faith that he's got his right intention in order, but I'm still going to watch it. I'm still going to do my due diligence, because that's the thing too. I've said this since the beginning. Like, we had somebody on the last made a comment about, well, this person's done this research on JD Vance. And my response was like, be that as it may, have you actually checked that person's research? Because if you haven't done that, if you just taken that person's word for it, then you are no different from the normie that you criticize who watches CNN and just parrots CNN. You're just parroting another talking head on a screen too. So we have to take that responsibility. And that's why even in my silly deep dives, I do over Rasputin's wackadoo, his wiener, I tell you guys to check your own research. Like, even to go and do this research yourself, because first of all, I think that's the beautiful thing when you look at the nuance. To be the forebearer of all truth, that's a heavy responsibility.
Yeah.
But if you have the self-respect and self-study to say, I'm not the forebearer of truth today, and we said this maybe off camera, and I know you had quoted somebody else, and then in a book I was reading, Gandhi had kind of talked about that. What is true today might not be true tomorrow.
Absolutely. And everyone always says, takes the piss out of, you can't have a my truth, but everything is so nuanced. There's so many different situations. What you do in a crisis situation is very different to what you would choose to do in everyday life and things. And I think we need to look at all these people in Congress. Another answer that he did that I thought was absolutely fantastic, Bryce, and then we can wrap it up, is he said, so one of the senators was actually quizzing him and saying, well, are you going to guarantee that you won't sack these people from these jobs? And he said, I'll guarantee I won't sack people that are doing their job, and this is the point, is people just on both sides of the argument, and I am guilty of this at times, as we said in these coffee chats, we're not pretending we're perfect, but I really feel I've matured a lot over the last year, in terms of saying, just because someone doesn't give the answer I don't want to hear doesn't make it right. And to try and coerce and bully someone into saying something to get a job. And I had the utmost respect. Of course, he's practiced in it because he's a litigation lawyer. And so he's got the skills and the eloquence and the intelligence and the knowledge to do it. But they're meant to a lot in their jobs and they haven't. When you see someone that doesn't write motion and they stick to things and he says, pardon, repeat that lesson. Yes, I agree to that. No, I can't to that. And they had an opportunity there, 3.5 hours, to ask some really good questions. And most of them, unfortunately, did none of that. They just tried to batter and berate and get their opinion across, which wasn't any good for the American public that they're meant to be serving. And I think that most of them should be very ashamed of their performance yesterday.
Oh, and the American, we'll say the military back channel, for lack of better, and the Cassiopeians have said they will not walk the streets. And I think we're starting to see what that meant. The Cassiopeians have also said there will be riots in the streets. You don't participate. You've already done your stuff. And I think that's what we're seeing, the build up to that. And honestly, I think I had told you off camera before Kennedy joined Trump's team in my house, between my boyfriend and me, we were very conflicted on who to vote for because we really like Kennedy. Really liked Kennedy, but we were conflicted. And so when he joined Trump's team, that made our decision obvious, to that's the team, because we voted for, as an American, I can say for me, I didn't just vote for Trump or for Vance. I voted for the team. That vote was for Kennedy, was for Tulsi Gabbard, was for Kash Patel, which I think I told you. Was it you that I told that yesterday? I don't know if you guys noticed this. So I kind of laughed because it was almost like Trump was playing the same game as they were bickering in the Senate over the health stuff. He released that when Kash Patel is sworn in, the first job he is to do is to release the Epstein list.
Yeah.
That got released. And I told you, Catherine, another thing is that he's now allowing podcasters like Catherine and me to apply to go and ask questions of him in this press conference because nobody trusts the media anymore. So my goal is to get Catherine over here because I'm not going by myself. I'd be too scared. So we can come to, and I think you have to be with an American. We'd have to obviously submit a background check. But honestly, I'm pretty sure I can speak for both of us, Catherine. I know I've had my back. It's the boringest background check you'll ever do. There's nothing exciting there,
Me too, unfortunately. Yeah.
Very boring. They'd be like, these girls are fine, give them their passes. They're not gonna, so there's all these changes that are coming that are really good. And I think we're gonna see is the pinnacle of the backlash from the establishment. And so that's what we have to, and I would beg the people watching, I know we're preaching to the choir, but I would beg the people watching, when we move into this, look at what JFK Jr. has done. He's given people choice. And that is what the side of light is about. We're not about taking things away from people. We're about giving them freedom of choice. Because if you want to take something away from somebody, you're just as bad as the establishment, right? And so we have to give people the choice, the informed choice to make to live out their own karma. And I would also beg you guys to please reconsider this idea that JFK Jr. is in a mass somewhere, because that is a coup and that is treason. And if you're supporting that, then you're supporting treason. You're supporting the same antics as the cabal. It is J.D. Vance That is who we voted for as the vice president, and it is Trump. That is who we voted for as president. These are all the people who they say they are. And I would beg you to just consider that as we move forward and use Kennedy as that example of giving people choice. We have to be logical about this and don't back down. Do not back down. Our children's health. I don't have kids. Thank God my nieces and nephews have a mother who hardcore woke up and now makes all of their own bread from scratch. She makes everything from scratch. They're all at good weights. They play out. She forces them outside for at least an hour a day. They have limited screen time, and so they're very fortunate to have a mother that is that strict with them. And that's what it's going to take, right? It's going to take us to bring back the childhood of past for our kids so that they are healthy. It's going to take the adults being strict about some things and really putting that effort in to, and if you are poor, and I get that, like if you hopefully we can reevaluate, because as a taxpayer, and I don't know about you guys in England, but as a taxpayer myself, I would much rather my taxes going to support an American family getting healthy than to pay for damn goggles for a duck.
Yeah, completely. And I just love it. And we didn't cover the climate change. We can do that another time. But what I would ask to everyone, so anyone new here, Bryce, her channel details, Esoteric Atlanta, will be below. We alternate 1 week on my channel, 1 week on Bryce's channel. Coffee chats, we're literally just having coffee with friends and discussing things. We're not pretending we know anything. But I would so appreciate anyone watching this video below. Let us know if there's other areas you want us to look into and talk about. Let us know your opinions. Let us know what you're helping. And for me, Bryce, I'd love people to tell us what are they most excited about changing in their life. Because when I see this, and I see it as sometimes, like I've had a few family members that have had really serious health scares this last week, and it's been a horrible, horrible week. And we all know sometimes we need things to have got so bad to reevaluate our look. So I'd love to hear from anyone listening to this below. If you're happy sharing, are there any areas that you're reevaluating of your life, saying, right, I've got to make a change in the way I'm living, and sharing that with us would be really helpful.
Give yourself space to evolve. I'll take this time just to plug real quickly, guys. Catherine's going to be joining us, the Esoteric Academy, right now until February 20th. 2025, we're doing a soft launch. It's only the tuition is only $25 a month. So this is a great place for you to start. I've got almost 20 different exercise videos. We've got courses over spiritual concepts. Catherine's going to be coming on with the grand opening and dropping some other courses. We're going to have multiple teachers there. And so if that's a support system you need, it's so cheap right now. I can send you that information for people, and you get 7 days free. So you can try it for 7 days. And our first live call is on Saturday at 7 a.m. my time. So, you can even try it now and have 7 days free to talk to us. And if you decide you don't want it and you want to go another route, that's fine as well. And how great would it be if the government gave us grants, Catherine, so we could offer, like with the Esoteric Academy, we could offer scholarships to people, because instead of paying for goggles for ducks or condoms for people in another country, they can give people the tuition to come to places like the Esoteric Academy. How much better would that be?
Well, this is what I'm really hoping that it's going to move into. The link to join the Esoteric Academy will be below. Please check it out. You can get 7 days for free. You can cancel your membership at any time. If you join now, you get locked in. And I'm really hoping that, that we will be able to offer scholarships to people, because, we pass it forward. And there's so much work you and Paula have done for this. It's phenomenal. And I know some of the plans that are coming forward, which are even more phenomenal. And I think I'm excited about making changes in my life, because I've got some I need to take, and I'm excited at sharing those with people. I'm excited to learn about all of you. And this is the first time for ages that I've really thought, this is really possible. We really can not go back to the old days and pretend they were perfect. We can look at where we're at now. We can learn from some of the mistakes, and we can course correct. And we all want that for our children. I don't think there's a single person that doesn't want that for our children.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. Thank you so much, Bryce. And we will be back next week on Esoteric Atlanta. Come join us and let us know what you think below. Thanks.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Hi, everyone. I just wanted to take a quick break in this fantastic episode to ask you this. Are you as fed up as I am with all the stress triggers that we're constantly bombarded with every day? From geoengineering, EMFs, fake and toxin-filled food, unstable political leaders that no one trusts have our best interest at heart, global agendas, financial struggles, The list feels endless, doesn't it? But here's the thing, there are solutions. Whatever challenges the so-called powers that be throw at us, nature, and we as real humans, always have the ability to rise above it and find the answers. I've seen it time and time again, not just in my own life, and trust me, I'm a natural worrier, but also with the many clients I've worked with over the years, both human and animal. That's why I've created something that I'm incredibly excited to share with you, my Mastering Stress and Resetting Your Nervous System online course. This is where I've pulled together all my best tools, techniques and strategies, everything that's made a huge difference for me personally and my clients. And the best part is you get lifelong access so you can revisit whenever you need. You can ask questions as you go through the course. There's an 80-page comprehensive ebook, over 4 hours of videos and audios, discounts on products and consults, and free access to bonus modules with expert guests. And to top it all, you can get the free Teachable app for on-the-go learning so you can incorporate all of this into your already busy routine. The time's right now to take back control of your health, your stress levels and your life. So let's do this together. Click on the link below this video, join our incredible community, and no matter whatever the world throws to us, we'll thrive. Because the truth is, we are all stronger than we think we are. And when we combine the power of nature with our determination, we're simply unstoppable. So let's make this happen together. The link to join is below. And now back to the podcast. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen. And if you feel inspired, please do share with your friends and family. This helps us spread the word and also helps me encourage some exciting new guests to take part in this podcast. And above all, stay curious and stay free.